Yes, I love this land. It takes my breath away.
Welcome to Texas 10. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Steve.
And we have been traveling all over Texas. A couple of weeks ago, we just had a Saturday. We didn't have very long. So I said, let's hop over to Johnson County. The county seat is Cleburne, Texas, and just do the day.
And that was a great idea, Melissa. We had a fantastic day going to Johnson County. Now, as Melissa mentioned, Cleburne is the county seat. It's one of those counties in Texas, though, where there's actually a bigger town. That's Burleson, is bigger than Cleburne. And so we managed to visit both. Burleson, to be truthful, is really a large suburb of Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And now it has lots of great restaurants. It has it has a historic downtown that they've done. And if you want a margarita on the patio, that sort of thing, Burleson is your place. But if you want true, authentic small town Texas, then Cleburne's your place.
And start at sunrise. The Sunrise Cafe, that is.
Oh, you're so funny.
I know. I've been practicing that.
Okay, well, let's stick to Texas 10 and maybe not comedy.
So the Sunrise Cafe, to be truthful, is one of the best breakfasts we ever had. And, you know, I've talked before about going into little cafes and loving to see the locals. There was a whole restaurant full of locals, and we had the best time talking to one group that has the same table every Saturday.
Well, every Saturday, they said every day, if you remember right.
That's right.
Yeah, they said every day. And there was another, I think it was a Sunday school class. There was like 25 of them at a table. And you could tell it's not downtown, but you could tell it was a real community center. And I understood why, because, man, what a great breakfast. The pancake was excellent.
It was all good.
Right.
And so then we went from there and we went downtown to start exploring.
And it's interesting. We had been to Cleburne about 9 years before over the 4th of July weekend. And to be truthful, we thought, well, this is a nice little town, but there's not a whole lot going on. And so we're sort of expecting the same.
Right. Well, they've really revitalized it. There's an old hotel, the Liberty Hotel, that they've redone. We did not stay there because it was a day trip for us. And then they've just brought in so much retail. In fact, if you're a picker, Cleburne is your place to pick.
Right. She's talking about vintage goods, not guitars. But,
right.
Right. And we've been to lots of vintage antique stores across Texas. And there are some that they're just a great above junk stores. I mean, to be honest, but all of them that we went into in Cleburne had really exceptional goods. They have a good eye and they're eclectic. You could find all sorts of different things and they're well taken care of. They're of the better quality, I guess is what I would say.
They smell really good.
Right. Yes.
It's my mark of a good antique store. If it doesn't smell musty,
right.
This is high end.
Right. Some of them smell like grandma's closet,
But these, in fact, we found the greatest toys. There was one that had vintage toys, and if you will look at our table, we found the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and Silver. Hi-Yo Silver.
Right.
And we looked at them, and we're like, oh, those are so cool. We walked past. And we
did a little haggling.
And we got them.
And I am so happy. I mean, I'm 63 years old, but every 63-year-old guy is still a kid inside, is still a boy. And that takes me back. The cereal, the Lone Ranger, was even old for when we were growing up, but it's just captivating. And nothing says Texas more than the Lone Ranger. I mean, he was a surviving Texas Ranger. That's where the name came from. And so steeped in Texas historical tradition and, on the big screen, on the small screen, and just, can you be more of a man than the Lone Ranger?
You cannot.
Okay.
The masked man.
The masked man.
But it was such a great downtown, and they were, they had like a fairy scavenger hunt, and all these little kids were looking for fairy eggs or something. They were all dressed like fairies, and I thought, how clever, because they were getting their parents into all of the stores.
The other thing about the stores that I was really blown away by is how supportive of each other they were.
Do you remember going into the one? There was a new store, and it
Right.
was really great. She had all kinds of things, kind of like a gift store. And she said, "Oh, but you really need to try this other one around
Right.
the corner too." And so they really helped each other out, and you could tell because it really was thriving.
Right. And so there's stores all around, and then there's a mall essentially that cuts through the center of town. It's not a huge operation, but that was more boutiques than vintage goods.
Oh, I wish I had worn my jacket. I wasn't even thinking. I got the cutest jacket, and it's got, I'll wear it on another one. You'll see it's got like a little cowgirl on it. It's so cute. But anyway, it's really great shopping. It also had a soda fountain in there. There's an old train depot. They've got like a train things with a soda fountain.
So she poo-poos that, but there are a lot of old guys like me that remember train things along with the Lone Ranger, and they do have a pretty impressive setup of the different gauges of trains. And now there are obviously guys that are more into it to me because they were spending their day running the train on a Saturday. But the model train people, it does, for kids, they love it. And old guys love it. Maybe if you're in between, you don't care so much, but when you're old like me or if you're little like them, you'll love a train.
And the courthouse may be the tallest courthouse in Texas. I'm not sure. We'll have to look that up for you. And look on our website, texas10.com, and maybe we'll have that fact. I don't know, but it was very tall.
Very tall.
And then I always like looking at the churches. And there was a beautiful church, this beautiful red door, and I just loved the name of it, the Holy Comforter. And it just looking at it was just picturesque. It was beautiful.
And that's right off downtown. And then across the street was another remarkable little piece of architecture, called the Burger Bar.
Yeah, so you get your burger bar. You can go to church at the Holy Comforter and then go to the burger bar for lunch afterwards. It was great.
And that, I think, had been there since the 40s. And man, we didn't eat there, but man, did it smell good.
Right. Because we had just eaten at the Sunrise.
Right. So we weren't quite right for that. A little bit later in the day, though, we went to Morris. Burgers are a big thing in Cleburne, I think, because we went over to Burleson, came back, and we went to Morris Neal's Burgers, where we actually ate.
And they were really, really good.
And that was just the traditional basket burger, great fries, great burger, Coke on top. It was an excellent way to almost end our eating day.
But before we go to the end of the day, do you remember going back downtown, the artist, Yuri, that we met from Russia?
Yuri, I believe it's either Tertian or Trushan. He owns the Red Horse Gallery in Cleburne. And I actually think he owns several other buildings.
He does.
There's Red Horse all around. Right. Yuri's from Russia and married an American who is a doctor, I believe, in Burleson. And we spent quite a bit of time with Yuri.
He's a painter, a beautiful painter, and he has these remarkable paintings that he does, and he does some of them with special paint so that when the black light is shown on it, you see features that you don't see when the black light isn't showing
so
on it.
It's what you would call illuminated watercolor.
Yes.
I think is the name we came up for it when we were there.
That's what he calls it.
And it was, I'm no art critic, but it was really exceptional. But of course, you have to have just looking at it without it being illuminated, they were pretty. But then when you put the special lighting on it, they were remarkable. You saw all sorts of different things. And so it's like a super elevated black light poster.
Yes.
And
it doesn't even have any velvet on it.
Right. And so it was really cool. So I highly recommend the Red Horse Art Gallery and a little conversation with Yuri. He'll tell you all about it.
And he also is an art teacher. Remember, right as we left, some of his art students were coming in.
Right.
And so
from
he's a really
Fort Worth,
interesting guy.
and there were people came from a long way to listen to Yuri, and so big thumbs up.
Yeah. Right. And then we ate, and then we went. There is a state park, Cleburne State Park.
Well, let's back up a bit.
Oh, back up. What I missed?
Okay, so we did go to the Chisholm Chisholm Trail, because the Chisholm Trail came through Cleburne. And there's a cool little outdoor park, and there's a Native American museum there. And if you just want to spend a little time, and particularly if you have children, I think they would enjoy that. Cleburne has a fairly large lake, and so if you want to spend some time on the lake, fishing, skiing, all of those sort of things, water sports, it's got a great, very picturesque lake. So we did those things. Then, before we went to the state park, which is not the lake, we went to Chaffin's.
Oh, and it's been around for 102 years. So we feel safe giving you the name of it because if it's been around 102 years, it's going to be around a lot longer. And it had really good pie.
Right. So we were pretty full from Morris Neal's hamburgers, but the mark of a good diner, and Chaffin's is another diner, is pie. And we had different types of pie, and they were both great. I had the chocolate silk. You had apple?
I had apple.
Two of
a la
your.
mode.
So if we would have had pecan, that would have been the trifecta, but there's only two of us, and we're large enough to begin with. So
thank you.
Well, I'm large enough to begin with. So that was Cleburne and Burleson. Great little towns. Cleburne particularly. Oh, we didn't mention Antique Alley.
Oh, yes. They have you've heard, a lot of people have heard about Round Top, but they have Antique Alley, which is so many vendors come in, and they were telling us how fun it is. They were even saying people from Temple have ridden the train. You can ride the train to Cleburne. Did you know that? And get off the train and do your shopping and find all kinds of finds. And so it just happened a couple of weekends ago for us. I didn't get to go, but I'm going to go down to Antique Alley sometime. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It does. And so after all of that, we went to Cleburne State Park as the sun was setting, and there's a lake also at Cleburne State Park. It's confusing because it's not the Cleburne Lake, but it's a different lake, and just enjoyed a beautiful sunset. The bluebonnets were out. There's some old WPA waterfalls built, and just a terrific end to the day. So
Cleburne was a lot of fun. We hope you will come back and find out about more of our journeys in Texas.
Keep watching Texas10.com or Texas 10. Go to Texas10.com to get the specifics. Like us, subscribe to us, follow us on social media. Do all those things, but tell your friends and get out there and see Texas.
See ya.
Bye.
And I love this land. It takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade, I love this land. It takes my breath away.